From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Friday, October 30th, 2015. Silver is trading at $15.60 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,147 per ounce. And according to BitcoinAverage.com, the average price of Bitcoin is $324. Antiwar.com reports last week's first of the Islamic State war combat death for a U.S. soldier in Iraq gave way to admissions over the past 2 days that the Pentagon is engaged in ground combat as a fairly regular matter during what officials have presented as an exclusively advisory deployment. It's also apparently not new. Apparently determined to protest the charge of mission creep in the war, officials are now conceding that they've been engaged in secret ground combat for months now, and therefore this isn't mission creep, but rather a transition to public admission of what they've been doing all along. Officials also made reference to a U.S. Special Operations Office being run out of the Kurdish capital of Erbil, saying the matter was kept so highly classified that even the name of the office itself is considered a state secret that will not be released. Sergeant Joshua Wheeler's death last week appears to have been the first actual death of the conflict, and covering that up appears to have been a step too far for the Pentagon leadership. This is at least the public explanation for why the Pentagon went from ruling out combat to insisting a ground war was self-evident in the matter of 48 hours. It may be too soon to rule out mission creep as well, however, as even if the U.S. has been in secret ground combat for months, doesn't mean the sudden admission of limited ground combat might not suggest the secret part of the war is going to transition into something even more aggressive.
For over 35 years, Robertson Roberts has been a trusted source for buying and selling your investment-grade precious metals. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and permanently removed the minimum purchase order for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Robertson Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on investing and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 850-478-5270 or online at rrbi.co.
UPI reports Wisconsin Republican Paul Ryan was elected Thursday to serve as Speaker of the House, bringing an end to weeks of uncertainty. Ryan, who is now the 62nd House Speaker, won 236 votes to Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi's 184, enough to take the House seat. Ryan received a standing ovation as he was handed the gavel with his wife and children looking on. Florida Representative Daniel Webster received 9 votes. Conservatives will now look to Ryan, an influential committee chairman and 2012 vice presidential nominee, to bring together the splintered Republican Party and encourage House lawmakers to function cohesively. Before his swearing in, Ryan called for greater unity among the factions in the House and a renewed vision for his party. He said standing in front of the full House underscored the weight of the responsibility, the gravity of the moment. Ryan said changes need to be made immediately. He was officially nominated Wednesday for Speaker of the House by GOP Conference Chairwoman Kathy McMorris Rogers. With his election, Ryan, who is 45, is the youngest person to hold the seat since 1896. The last 20 speakers were an average of 63 years old when they took the position.
In 2115 New England, there are no borders, no states, and no regulations, yet never has a more peaceful and prosperous place existed. But Mr. Drake's security company has seen better days. Faced with the prospect of waning power, Mr. Drake intends to replace the anarchy of New England with a government. But at what cost? And can anyone stop him? Anarchy in New England by Joe Jarvis is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores.
Reuters reports China will ease family planning restrictions to allow all couples to have 2 children after decades of a strict one-child policy. The ruling Communist Party said on Thursday the move was aimed at alleviating demographic strains on the economy. The policy is a major liberalization of the country's family planning restrictions, already eased in late 2013, when Beijing said it would allow more families to have 2 children when the parents met certain conditions. A growing number of scholars had urged the government to reform the rules introduced in the late 1970s to prevent population growth spiraling out of control, but now regarded as outdated and responsible for shrinking China's labor pool. China, the world's most populous nation, could become the first in the world to get old before it gets rich. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.